Optics Corporation, also known as POC, is a systems integrator of advanced technology, serving the military, defense, and security markets. Founded in 1985, this highly innovative women-owned small business has grown to a $50 million company with over 235 employees. In an interview with Mr. Rick Shai, the Chief Strategic Officer for POC, we discussed the evolution of the firm and his advice on how to successfully transition technology into defense markets.
Well, in 1993, I came into a company that had very, very smart people. And I'm not a dummy, but I tell you, the first week I said, God, make me a sponge so I can absorb all this information. POC at that time was a very heavy R&D company. They were about 68 people, $7.5 million in sales. And Joanna Jansen, the founder of our company, she knew that research would be a good area, but to grow the company, they had to transition products. And that's why I was brought into the company. In 1993, if you were to walk through Physical Optics Corporation, it was primarily one building. We had another building elsewhere, chock full of scientific labs filled with optics, electro-optics components. We had full-blown holographic labs where we shot original holograms. So very scientific, very focused on those types of technologies. Many labs, many technologies. Today, you would walk through and you would see engineering offices, and you would see quality offices, testing labs, production facilities that we didn't have back in 1993, and that's really the difference.
Many small advanced technology firms find it difficult to add business development or BD as a core function.
It's very important to integrate your operations and your technical and scientific staff with your business development staff. This is a very important question. It's a very important problem. And for companies like SBIR companies and small businesses, it's necessary to have BD people who think very differently than your scientific staff. Think of it like a railroad track and a train. Both tracks have got to be parallel, in line, working together, and if you have that, that train is going to run well.
Physical Optics Corporation has used many commercialization strategies. They've spun off companies, developed production facilities, and licensed out technologies. We explored each of these strategies with Mr. Shai, with an initial focus on how the company redefined its core business.
Today, POC is focused on military and defense products. 1993, 1994, 95, they were more of a commercial company, and they focused largely on fiber optic communications and holographic technologies that were mostly commercial, that had a commercial bent. But as the company grew, the markets grew, the sales grew, the technology was growing, and it required a real focused effort in that area. POC was missing lots of opportunities within the government, within military and defense. So it became a conflict in the focus of the company. So at that point, it made a lot of sense, and the business plans and the business models seemed to serve a spinoff for the commercial products. POC focused then on its government technologies such as avionics, wearables, ground, and sensor systems.
Before deciding to spin off a company, one must determine if there's a market, if you truly have a product, and how do you fare relative to the competition.
What you want to do before you spin off is you need to put your toe in the water, and you need to test the water to see, do those things exist for you? And if they do, then in our case, we started in an office. Then the office had a group of people, and then it became a group. Then they became a division. Then you realize that, hey, there's a real market here. We're selling lots of products. So then they have to have a company that is a dedicated focus of the people that work there.
Licensing is another strategy, which under certain conditions is good to consider.
Now, licensing technology is a very interesting question, because usually companies don't make much money on licensing. But however, there are times where you can't reach a worldwide market. The demand for the product is beyond what you're capable of handling. And actually, we had a situation like that in the cell phone business. We made a holographic waveguide. They were making 20 million units a month. They were selling them for 25 cents, and it was a worldwide market. POC in 1993, 94, 95 wasn't capable at that time of supporting it. So it made sense in that case to license the technology. So these are the kinds of things you need to think about. How much can your company make and produce, and what makes sense to license it out to another company?
Many times, companies look externally for investment, but POC has a history of investing its own funds in technology development.
One of the key things that Physical Optics has, which I would encourage other companies to do, is to, rather than take your profits and put them in your pocket, but take your profits and invest it in yourself, invest it in your business. And that's one of the key things that our founders have done, is they've always taken their profits and plugged them back into the company, and specifically plugging it back into the product transitioning areas. And I think that's one of the key things that has made POC successful, is our investment into transitioning and products. So for example, in phase one, you got phase one, SBIR, phase two. Well, why not make a product in phase one and show your customer that your technology is real?
As Rick came originally from the commercial marketplace, we explored the differences between working within the DoD environment as opposed to the commercial marketplace.
Commercial marketing is very different from marketing to defense. In commercial marketing, you're talking about business plans, the 4 Ps of marketing, price, product, promotion, and place. In defense, it's very different. You have to think of it like a triangle. At the head of the triangle is your user. At the one bottom of the triangle is the technology, which would be the SBIR company. But one area that is often overlooked is the third leg of the triangle, and that's the acquisition side of the triangle. So a couple things about the triangle you need to keep in mind, that sometimes your technical monitor may not be the user. They may be somebody helping you get to the user, but they may not be the program office that you need to speak to. You need to utilize that technical monitor to get you in front of the user in the program office that's going to eventually buy your product. But many, many people don't even think about contacting the acquisition side. One of the worst things you want to hear, the user's all excited about your product, you want to make the product, but the acquisition side says, we don't have the money for it. It's not in the POM cycle. There's no line item for it. So you have to work that side. The second thing is, how do you get it on contract? These are all things that you need to consider.
Over time, the infrastructure within an organization grows and becomes more diversified to facilitate greater efficiency and volume.
Well, today at Physical Optics, because we're focused on defense, they're vastly different than years ago when we were focused on commercial products. Today you have a very extensive software team, you have a hardware team, you have a quality team, you have the user themselves. You really want the government user involved into your product team, because they're going to guide and direct you in what to do. There's a program manager. In addition to your BD function, then you've got your production and manufacturing needs. So it's very different today when you're focused on defense versus years ago when we were working in commercial.
Involving your defense customer early in the process has unforeseen benefits.
One of the key things is your government customer has to be involved in this process, because they're going to guide you, direct you. And trust me, we've made a lot of mistakes. And I'll tell you just a short story. You know, we were doing crash survival memory, and you do the burn test, and we didn't know that the government had to be there to witness your test. Even though we had an independent lab doing the testing, we had to redo the test because we didn't involve the government to stand there and witness the test.
As a supplier of technology for aircraft, we asked Rick to share information about the FAA certification processes.
Yeah, working on a aircraft of any kind, whether it is commercial or military aircraft, you just don't walk right out there and put your recorder box on the airplane. There's an extensive amount of certification, approval processes that are demanded not only by the aircraft maker, but also the government, such as the FAA. There's testing, procedures, documentation, and this takes years to develop. And again, in our lessons learned that we had, is we didn't realize how long it was going to take, how much it cost, what kind of documentation that had to be in place. But we did learn it, and now we're a lot more effective.
Looking back over the growth of POC, we asked Rick to share some lessons learned that might assist other small businesses.
As I think about POC's evolution, starting from a small company in 1985 to where it is today, there's several key things that I think I'd like to share. One is you got to have the ability to change and make decisions. You need to have a good core management team. You need to think about hiring good business development people that can work with your scientists. You need to have good financial lines of credit and ability to fund your growth. And it takes time. But most importantly is you have to pick right. You have to pick the right product for the right market. You have to understand your competition. Do you have a niche within this market? Can you play within this market? And you really need to invest and think long term.
In concluding, we explore the role of management in building the infrastructure.
Management needs to help companies develop by hiring good people, stay focused on their business to make sure that they're well funded, that they think long term, they have strategic plans, they pick right markets and right products, and they go for it.